Today I'm going to do a review about this particular watch, which is Bulova Super Seville. So let's go. As far as the dimensions of this watch is listed as 10.5 in thickness and 37.5 in diameter. On my measurement, it's exactly the same, 10.5 and 37.5 in diameter. From lug to lug, I know I got a couple of comments on my previous video about distinguishing between lug to lug and the male end links to another male end link. Therefore, I'll do a separate measurement. The lug to lug for this particular watch, I measured at 42.2, so just a little bit over 42. It has male end links, so the measurement from one male end link to the other male end link will be 47.3, just a little bit over 47 millimeters as far as the actual wearability, I would say. However, because of the case bag, which I'll talk about in the case section, it's super comfortable on your wrist. Okay, so now let's talk about the bracelet. So it starts off with the thickness on the first link is somewhere around 26 millimeters, and it tapers down to around 18 millimeters. So it is a very heavy taper, which I tend to prefer on my bracelet as well as my strap. So ultimately, I really like the bracelet as far as the look. It has a butterfly clasp, so you could be landing on that no man's land as far as sizing is concerned, but it does come with 1/2 links for proper sizing because it's a butterfly clasp. Overall, the quality of the bracelet is really nice. It feels really good. It's really comfortable and has a certain amount of weight that when it's on your wrist, it's very smooth and comfortable on your wrist. Now, there is a polishing on the center links, which I'm not a big fan of, but since this is kind of going for the retro look, I could kind of live with it. However, there are two cons with this particular bracelet, and both have to do with sizing. First, uh, these are push pins. So, I would prefer to have screw down links. And not only are these push pins, but um, they are heavily ingrained into the actual hole. So you're going to need a tool to actually properly size this particular bracelet. I would much rather prefer that it's a screw down length. I know whether it's St. Martin, Octopus, Chronos, anything that's like even $200 or below. A lot of the watches that I've been seeing comes with screw down links and then also comes with a tool, a little screw for you to adjust. So ultimately, as a buyer, you don't really need anything else besides purchasing the watch. But for this particular watch, you're going to have a watch tool to properly size this particular bracelet. Now, the other big con that I don't think is really talked about for this particular watch is that ultimately, when I tried to size this down to my 6.5-inch wrist, I was left with basically 1/2 link. So I removed 6 full links along with 1/2 links on the other side to get it properly sized bracelet for my 6.5-inch wrist, which is just a little bit loose. If you have a wrist size that is less than 6.5, this watch is not going to be for you because it's an integrated bracelet. It's not like you're going to be able to swap it out. So buy it at your own risk. So far as case is concerned, majority of the case is brushed, which I like. The lugs are a little bit straight, but it does not really affect the wearability of the watch, mainly because of the case bag that this particular watch uses. So if you take a look at this case bag, you will see that a brush side along with a polished side. And then the brush side being the flat part of the case bag I measured it at 29.3. So big portion of this particular case back is flat and makes a pretty solid contact with the back of your wrist. So overall, it's a very comfortable case. Now, going to the front of the watch, it has a fluted bezel or I think coin bezel. So when I was looking at the pictures, I was thinking that the fluted bezel would be a lot more noticeable, but not really. It does add to a little bit of the retro vibe as well as a bit of I wear Dior Sauvage and a very strong cologne type of vibe to it, but not too much. So overall, I like it. Okay, so let's talk about the dial. The dial comes in 3 different colors. In stainless steel, there's a dark blue, there is green, which is the model that I have, And then I don't think it's really advertised, but there's a white version in stainless steel as well. And then there's another variation with a gold that also has a white dial. So there's four different variations. Out of the four, I my favorite was the green one, which is the one I have in front of you. I would say that the green that you see on this particular dial is the right shade of green that I'm looking for in a watch. The green has that right combination of looking just slightly matted while also looking just slightly glossy as well. There is a vertical brushing that is presented on the dial itself, but 99.9% of the time you're not going to be able to see it unless you do some sort of a micro shot, but it does present a little bit of a glossiness because of that brushing. Now, the other thing with the dial is that the indexes are pretty heavily polished, in my opinion, and it pops on this particular watch with that green dial, which is a little bit more subdued. And it kind of works along with the fluted or coin bezels, where they kind of interact with each other in presenting a little bit of that bling that I was talking about, where I was making fun of people with heavy cologne, which is actually I wear heavy cologne, so I'm actually kind of making fun of myself. So please don't take offense to that. So one of the main selling point for me on this particular watch was the movement itself, which is the Bulova Precisionist movement. It has a very, very smooth sweep. So I could compare it with the other Grand Seiko with the spring drive, which is also known for, smooth sweep. And I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but in person, if you really pay close attention to it, Grand Seiko sweep is a little bit smoother. However, I mean, you're going to have to be staring at your watch like an idiot for a long, long time for you to notice that. So it's not really going to make all that much of a difference. And ultimately, you're talking about Grand Seiko being about 10 times more expensive with the spring drive movement versus the precisionist movement with the Bulova. So, I mean, there are pros to the Bulova, especially for your pocket. If I'm bothered by anything, it's not the sweep. A lot of people compare the sweep of the two, but it's more around the actual second hand that is being utilized. I would think that because this particular precisionist movement is a straight quartz movement, to refrain from using too much of the battery, the actual second hand is much thinner. I could tell that it's a much lesser of a quality and it's much, much shorter. Versus if you actually look at the spring drive, which is a combination of quartz plus automatic movement, whatever you want to call it, the actual second hand that is being utilized is much higher in quality. And it reaches out all the way to the actual outer edges of the dial, which makes the sweep look a lot more sophisticated, if I would call it, than the precisionist movement. So for me, say the difference between the two movement, it's not the sweep, it's the actual materials of the second hand that is being used. Is visually you see it, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it. But if you don't have a spring drive to compare it to, then you got nothing to worry about, and you're gonna have a lot more money to spend on other things. So I think this is an amazing watch for the price point of hovering somewhere around 500 bucks. I think majority of the spending went to the actual watch itself rather than the presentation, which is good because the presentation is a goddamn trash. But overall, it has a really great movement. Um, I think it has a very eccentric retro look that you don't see from too many watches nowadays. And then it's really, really comfortable to wear. I would say that if I could make any improvement, it would be that I would try to get rid of the fluted bezels and maybe remove the actual date wheel on the dial. I think the date wheel kind of takes away from the symmetry of the dial itself. I would much prefer it without it. I'll try to do a mock-up of what I would like on Photoshop and try to present it somewhere within this particular video. Now, I like wearing my watches on a lot of different places. For whatever reason, I really like wearing my watches at the gym. I don't know why, I just like doing it. However, this is one of the watches where I would not feel comfortable wearing it at the gym. Just a preference. I just like having a very versatile watch. I feel like this could be one of them without the fluted bezel. But Again, you might be one of those people that say, hey, who cares about what other people think? Wear whatever you want. Well, good for you, Captain Confidence. But, go through your life being Andrew Tate or whatever. But a lot of the people want to wear watches for certain occasions. And I feel like with the fluted bezel, for me, it kind of limits the occasions in which I could wear this watch. Therefore, I would just get rid of the fluted bezels. But not a big deal. So overall, I think Bulova actually hit it out of the park with this particular watch. Just my personal preference, I would like it without the fluted bezel, just for being more versatile as far as where I could wear it. And additionally, I would like to put a warning out there for people with slimmer wrists. Anybody with a wrist size of below 6.5, buy it at your own risk because there is a really great chance that you might need to take off all of the links on this particular watch. And even that might lead to a situation it might be too big for you. So buy it at your own risk. Leave any questions about this watch if you have any on the comments, and peace.